I'll call to order the May 7th meeting of the Beverly Design Review Board. As a preliminary matter, I'm Sandy Cook. I'm the chair of the Design Review Board. I just want to make sure everyone knows that this meeting is being recorded by the City of Beverly and live streamed by BevCam on both channel 99 and via BevCam's YouTube channel. Somebody else joined. Was that Ellen? No, okay, we'll keep going. So first, I just want to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. So members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Ellen Flannery? She is not there. Emily Hutchins? We know Emily's there. Emily? Yep.
Here.
Joel Margolis?
Here.
Caroline Mason? No.
Caroline is still having trouble, and so she'll be listening, but she's attending as a board member right now.
Okay. Excuse me. Rachel Poor is not here tonight, so finally, Matt Ulrich. There. Okay. He waved, just for the record. And the recording secretary, Sherilyn Woodbury? No? Sherilyn? Sherilyn?
I don't see Charlene either.
Okay. All right. So anticipated speakers on the agenda, could you just respond when I call your name, just so we know you're here? Bean Trust Coffee Bar?
Eric.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay, hi Eric. Soul Viet Kitchen?
I'm here.
Okay, thanks. And we have the Beverly Police Station site plan review.
Yep, Keith Mercy and David McKinley are here from Castle Booze.
Okay. Briscoe Village for Living in the Arts.
Andrew DeFranza here, and we got a big team on the line.
Okay. And the Cabot Street YMCA.
I think I just saw Tom drop off, Sandy. Tom
Okay.
Alexander.
All right, he'll be back.
Right, Tom's back. Here we go.
Okay, Tom is here. All right, I just have to read this information for everyone before we really get going here. So this is an open meeting of the Design Review Board. It's being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspended the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. In order to,
Can I interrupt for 1 second? I believe Ellen has just joined.
Okay, Ellen, are you there?
I am, Sandy. Thank you.
And I believe
Okay,
and I believe Charlene is here as well.
Okay, Charlene? Okay, well, we'll find out, I guess. Okay, the order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as adequate alternative public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting may feature public comment. For this meeting, the Design Review Board is convening by telephone and video conference via Google Hangouts as posted on the city's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and televised live, and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other participants or viewers may be able to see and hear you, and anything that your broadcast may be captured by the recording. You have the option to turn off your video if you are participating via computer. All participants should keep their microphones or phones muted unless recognized by the chair to reduce background noise and feedback. Please wait until the person speaking has finished before speaking so we can clearly hear all participants. Meeting materials. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available from the Planning Department. Please contact Associate Planner Emily Hutchins to request supporting materials. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Hang on one second. I just want to read this myself. Okay, this is just some ground rules for the meeting. The chair will introduce each item on the agenda. After speakers conclude their remarks, the chair will invite board members to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. If you're on the telephone, you mute yourself by pressing *6. Please reserve the chat function for technical difficulties and not for public comment. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please state your name and affiliation before speaking. Regarding public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. For those individuals present in person, please take care to speak loudly and clearly so the microphone is associated with the webcam or telephone can efficiently broadcast your comments. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Okay, I just need to take a breath. And the first applicant is Bean Trust Coffee Bar, Eric Modell. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Sandy.
Do you want to go through the new design for us?
Sure. Maybe a quick
Emily, are
introduction.
you going to be putting the stuff up, Emily, or no? Sorry, just hang on one second.
Yeah, I can put everything up on.
I mean, do any board members need that, or you can all see, or do you want Emily to display the application? Anyone? Comments?
I think we should see what we're voting on.
Okay, so yeah, Emily, if you can do that. I mean, I'm looking at it on my computer, but I think we should put it up in case people can't see it.
Sandy, at least what the sign looks like.
Yeah.
Yep.
For
There we
sure.
go. Can everyone see the screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you, Em.
Yep, my pleasure.
Okay, so yeah, Eric, if you just want to run us through the changes and where you ended up with this.
Sure. So, firstly, Bean Trust is opening a coffee bar here at 151 and a half Hale Street, along with my daughter, Stephanie, who's next to me here also. And we'll be selling coffee and breads, mostly a takeout. So people have their coffee and bread and sandwich, morning sandwich or an afternoon sandwich and take off. The design change really is for more clarity. It looked clear, and that was mostly, there was no real design change on the Bonnie breads. The grain was taken out of the middle of Bonnie breads and put on the bottom. Definitely redesigned that.
Okay.
And Bean Trust really is put in the middle and changed the logo from 2 cups clicking to 1 bean, because some people thought maybe it was glasses and it was confusing.
Okay.
Or a bow tie. So
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it looks nice.
I have nothing on the screen here.
Oh, okay. Emily, do you have the
There we
next,
go.
the page with the sign on it, Emily?
It's back, San.
It's back.
Yeah, but it needs to scroll. I don't think I can control that.
Hold on.
Can you scroll it to the sign?
Can I to
Sign. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Can you guys see that now, Joel?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the projecting sign, the square.
Yeah.
Where do the dots come into play, Eric?
that's just on the left.
It's
That
just
is
the colors.
just the colors.
From
It's just the colors. Okay. Okay. The color scheme. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go through the board members and get comments. Ellen, do you have any comments?
I like it, Sandy. It's very clean. It's a nice presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Caroline, are you there now? No. Matt?
I like it. Reads a lot clearer than the last one we saw, so I think it's great.
Okay. Joel?
Yeah, it looks fine to me.
Emily?
I like it. I'd like to note too that the dimensions have not changed, and so this and we still have not received a response from the building inspector, but the board can approve the signs conditionally.
Okay.
And so one thing I would like to note on the window sign.
Oh yeah, I haven't got to that yet. So,
oh, I'm sorry. So the
okay.
I have no comments on the projecting sign. No other comments.
Okay. Yeah. So the window sign, that's a little hard to see in the picture. Is it everything that's on the projecting sign?
So it's similar to the projecting sign. We're going to have to work on that. Last time I recall one of the board members mentioned that they would appreciate not too much signage in the window. It's very pleasing right now when there's no signage in the window. So I was trying to do something a little more discreet but still stand out. So I don't think it's quite what we want yet, because I want Bonnie Bread to be able to speak. So
do you think it's because the glass really it looks black actually, so there's not a lot of contrast?
Yeah.
That's it.
Would you be better off with white letters on the glass?
That was what I was going to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't quite got there, but it'll be, this is Diane Modal, Eric's wife. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Diane.
Hi, the design will be, on the window will be exactly as the projecting sign, and we're just trying to figure out what the color scheme will be, but it will just be lettering on clear glass.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
Emily,
there is online, there's Sarah Miller who will be helping with the cutout on the vinyl if
okay.
Yeah.
Now, I just think, is this something, Emily, you think that they could come back to you with a final color scheme that has more contrast, or does the board think that it should come back to all of us for the window sign?
If the board is comfortable with the design, I think that the color and the contrast could be approved administratively.
Okay.
Is everyone fine with that, board members?
That's Sandy.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And Sandy, I have a question for you and Emily, just to confirm. The coverage on the window, Emily, 20%?
So that's an interesting question. So in commercial and industrial locations, the rule is 20%. This is, however, a residential zoned building, and the previous businesses had much larger window signs that covered a lot more of the windows. This is also a unique building in that it's quite small, and the window is also rather small. So what would be allowed is what has been grandfathered from the previous businesses that were approved.
Okay, and so this is actually smaller than
Yes,
the last one.
I believe that this is smaller than the previous sign, but it would have to, again, receive approval from the building inspector.
Okay.
All right. I personally don't have an issue, I think, with the size of it, because I think that it's kind of skeletal in the writing. So
I like that, Sandy, too.
yeah, I think it's fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, the intent with window signage is for it not to inhibit visual access into the business. It's windows where you're able to see into the business. They're more appealing, and they tend to draw more interest. It's generally considered a more economically viable and appropriate design in terms of aesthetics. And
I think this Yeah, this achieves it. Does anybody else agree with that?
I'm good with it, Sandy. Thank you.
Okay.
You ready for a motion?
Sure.
I'll move to approve the proposed signs with the condition that the building inspector finds that they do not need a special permit.
And that they're gonna have the colors.
Yeah, and what is it, administrative approval, Emily, for the planning staff with the windows and the signage in the window.
And the final colors for the window sign be approved administratively?
Please.
Yep. Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Second.
We'll take Joel on that one. All right, all in favor? Oh, I have to do this by roll call, sorry. So we'll just go through the names. So Ellen?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Caroline, I don't think is there yet. And Emily?
Yep.
And myself is a yes. So, all right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
You're welcome.
Exciting.
Good luck.
We
Really
wish
appreciate all of you and looking forward to working with you more as time goes on.
Great.
We're looking forward to a cup of coffee.
Yes,
No.
please come by.
Thank you all. Eric, I'll be sending you that letter of approval tomorrow or Monday.
Okay.
And then you would we'll be able to apply for a sign permit with the building inspector online.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, you can let me know.
And I've been in communication with the building inspector, and so he knew I was coming to the planning board, and so all of that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Great. All right, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Where'd Emily go? There she is, upper left. All right, so since we're not signing things, we can move right on to Soal Viet Kitchen.
Present, I'm here.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm sorry you can't see me. I don't know how to, I'm a cave woman, I don't know how to work these things.
Oh, that's okay. All right, okay, well, if you want to, Emily, are we going to pull up can we pull up the packet?
Give me one moment. Here we go. All right.
Excuse me.
Are you seeing the sign application?
Yes.
No. Okay. So, Sa, do you want to go through, just go through the package, the application?
Sure. So we needed to do a revision, given what's happening currently and our opening date expected sometime in July. We decided that just focusing on a noodle concept would not make sense. So we needed to pivot and create a more comprehensive menu.
Okay.
Thus, instead of just having it be Soul Noodle Bar, we have changed it to Soul Viet Kitchen. The design essentially is the same. The only thing that is different, obviously, is in the name. And then we took Vietnamese out of the projecting sign.
Okay.
Which is up top, and it's just simply our logo.
Yeah.
So those are the only changes that we made to the signage.
Okay. All right. I think it looks nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any board member comments? I can go through. Ellen?
Looks very nice and clean, Sandy.
Okay. Emily?
I agree that it looks very nice and clean. I'd like to note too that this these signs are this application is a recipient of the facade and sign improvement grant for signs, and it's been approved by the planning department and by Beverly Main Streets.
Okay. Great. Joel?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it, except what I'm looking at is a screen that has the logo, then some written material here.
Yeah, so let's clarify for Joel. So the round logo at the top, that's going to be actually the projecting sign, right?
Okay, yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And it will be that shape.
Correct.
Around, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not like on a square and it's painted on a square. It's actually that shape. And then below it, the long extent with the Viet kitchen, that's the wall sign that's going on the overhang, right, Emily?
Correct.
Correct. So it will go, hold on, I'm sorry, one moment.
Yeah. I was having trouble with this photo too, because I don't actually see the sign on it.
So the wall sign will go right on the corner.
Which building?
Of the larger building, the 211 Rantoul Street. So it will go beneath that corner portion with the glass windows.
Right here. Okay.
And the projecting sign will be going right on the corner of that building as well. So it will project out over the sidewalk.
So is the wall sign going where that tree is?
So it's going behind the tree, but I'd like to note that this is just a rendering. This isn't an actual.
No, I know the tree's not real, but that is the location, right?
Yes.
It's facing Rantoul.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then the projecting sign is right at the corner?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm fine with that. Matt, any comments?
I think it looks great.
Okay. And Joel, I'm sorry, I might have already asked you, but
That's fine.
okay. All right. Sounds like sounds like everyone's good with it. So I'll make a motion to approve the signs for South Viet Kitchen as presented.
Thank you.
I'll
Wait.
second it.
Okay, Ellen seconded, and I'll just go through the list. Ellen,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Caroline, still no, Caroline's not here?
No, I don't think she'll be.
She's not here. Okay, Joel
Yes.
and Matt
Yes.
and myself. All right, so motion passes.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Very
All right.
welcome. All the
Thank you,
best.
sir.
Wonderful evening. Thank you.
All the very best to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So next on the list is the site plan review minor modification, Beverly Police Station.
Hello, this is David McKinley and Keith Mercy from Castle Booze Architects. We sent them a package to you. I think the easiest thing to do would be for me to read the letter as part of the package. To give that introduction.
No, it's not on. I thought
Is it okay? Hold on.
Just say yeah.
Hold on. Who was talking?
Mark, you're on. Mark, you got to go on mute.
Okay.
It's Mark Lydon, the OPM for the project.
Okay.
So *6 is mute.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, got it.
So, changes in the design of the building of the Beverly Police Station building and site were made during the intervening 6 months between the city's DRB submittal of the station and the time that drawings went to bid in January. The changes were minor, include the following: the reduction of plaza pavement at the north staff entrance. We'll show you all these on a plan. The reallocation of parking from staff to public, which entailed relocation of the secure fencing around the staff lot, and the realignment of the west end of the north parking lot. Relocation of the flagpoles from behind a segmental retaining wall to a more stable ground location to the north of the main entrance of the building. And the addition of a walkway on the south side of the building to provide ADA access from the stairwell and the prisoner release to the visitor parking. And then Keith, there's a few changes that took place in the building. And that involved mostly on the roof, I believe.
Yes, correct.
Go ahead, tell them what it was.
Okay, so the major revisions we had, none of them were really major. Originally, the elevator went to the roof itself, but to value engineer, we had to reduce that, so the elevator went down. The city is trying to maximize photovoltaics on the building, so they wanted to get as much as they could on the roof, so we had to add a fence around the perimeter of the roof for fall protection. And except for that, there was originally plans to have a 120-foot monopole communication tower on the plan. We did a lot of research and realized it wasn't required, so we replaced it with a small antenna array on the roof as well. And except for that, just some small elevation changes that when we go through the plans, I can go through.
So Emily, if you can go through this, bring up the plans to show, we have the before and after plans. If you want to, we can just go to the afters. It's up to you.
Yep, so let's see.
Thank you.
You can see my screen, so we can do a quick before.
Yep. So the before, you'll notice that the north parking lot above the building is basically very straight across. The fence line is at the left end of that parking, going just to the left of the handicapped, and then coming back into the building. There's no walk across the front of the building on the south side of the south side of the plan, from the bump out on the right over to the main entrance, which is on the left. And there, the antenna at the north side of the building, there's a circle there. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, Emily, or not, but
Oh, that might cause some issues with the computer.
Yeah, might cause issues. Well, anyway, on the north side of the building, we had an antenna and a plaza, and we've reduced that. So if you go to the first one that has the red lines around it, might be the easiest thing to do, because all the other plans are just material showing grading and whatnot. I think it's too far. No, I'm sorry. No, you're right. Keep going.
Sorry, one moment. There we go.
Right there. So the red lines circle the areas that got changed. So the parking on the north end, you can see, is now bent down at an angle, and the fence line is now running through the parking lot to the right of that enclosed red area, separating pedestrian from, or I should say, visitor from staff. The staff can still use it, but the police were worried that they might not have enough visitor parking, and they didn't want to have to overflow into the Cummings Center. The circle to the left of the building is where we moved the flagpoles. The reason we moved the flagpoles back there was really because they were going to be right behind the segmental retaining wall, and we were worried with any kind of fluctuation of a 50-foot pole, it might blow out the wall, and that would be not good. So it made more sense to put them in solid ground. And then on the south side of the building, we have the walk that we added for ADA access for prisoner release, which takes place on the right side of the building, but the prisoners have to get across to the visitor parking, which is on the left side.
Right.
And then we reduced some paving in the back of the building, which is on the north side. There's a little jut out there, the red bubbles, that now is grass. It used to be paving. We didn't really see any need to add that because it didn't make any sense. Those are basically the changes that took place on the site. If you want to go to the building plan.
Well, and I have a quick question. Sorry, are there any changes to the planting plan?
Not really, no. I mean, the communication tower is now grass. I mean, we didn't really change anything there, no.
Okay.
Okay, so here are the elevations we were discussing earlier. You can see the changes highlighted in red again. Majority on the top you can see is we added a grailing at all the roof locations for the PV fall protection. The big square on top that looks vacant, that is where the elevator tower used to go, but we roofed it down so it doesn't go to the roof anymore, so that is lowered. let me see. On the bottom plan, there was the bottom plan on the very left. We pulled the building in a little bit to the left, to the right, which made a larger overhang. It helped simplify the structure. And then we changed the glazing in that area, which was storefront and looked a little different. We changed it to match the curtain wall profile. And then there's another plan if you guys, unless you have questions on this one right now. Some small changes. We changed some of the metal panels just to align with adjacent areas, just to make it a more uniform look.
Are we going to the next set of elevations, or are we still on the first set?
No, next elevation is fine, 502. So on the top plan, there's two bubbles on the roof. One of them on the left is where the elevator shaft used to be. It's removed now. So the right of it is the location of the small antenna farm, we'd call it. It's just a 10 by 10 little bit of post that's going to have 8-foot whips on it that'll do the communications in lieu of having the 120-foot monopole tower, which was something Cumming Center didn't want. So they're very happy that we got to get rid of that. On the left, we had a couple down on the bottom left on that same plan. There was a mechanical louver that was turned out wasn't requested, so we got rid of it and we put metal panel in its place. On the lower plan, the main change, once again, except for adding the railings, is there are now 2 doors. There used to be 1 door aligned with the vertical window on the lower plan. That was going to be the stair egress and the police entrance. We wound up relocating the stair just for a more efficient layout. So now the door on the left is egress from the stair tower, and the door on the right with the glazing on the side is the main police entrance into the building. On the right side of that, there used to be some glass extending all the way to the corner of the building. We revised the floor plan, so that's now high density storage. So we removed the glazing and we put more stone in that location. And right to the left of the 2 doors, also there used to be another mechanical louver that wasn't required, so we replaced it with metal panel. And that's essentially all the changes that have happened.
All the colors.
Yeah, all the colors and all the materials are all the same. Everything here is just the small changes we discussed.
Sorry, so they're putting PV panels on top of where the garage doors are as well?
They are. The plan is any of the roofs except for the secondary roof that's above the second floor roof on the right there, the rest of them are going to be filled with PV panels. And there's also talk about building a canopy parking structure over the parking lot as a separate contract, which would also have PV panels on it too. We're coordinating with a separate vendor on that. The goal is to have as close to a net zero building as we can. We're also utilizing geothermal on this site, which is actually just got installed last week.
Okay.
So even if they're not going to put the PVs on, which they are now, they want to have the ability to put them on in the near future if money allows. So we figured since we're tying the railing into the structure below, it makes more sense to put it in now before the roof goes in so they don't have to open up and do alternate construction to make it work in the future. But the goal is for it to be maximized.
And that's just because the panels come within 4 feet of the edge? Is that
correct? Within
why?
3 feet. Yep.
Okay. All right.
So it's just a galvanized steel railing. We tried to keep it simple. We didn't want to add too much structure because it's close to the ocean. We didn't want anything that was going to catch the wind, and we wanted to keep it as minimal as we could.
All right. Any board members? I'll go through the list. Ellen, do you have any comments?
I don't, Sandy. Thank you.
Okay. Emily?
So all of the windows that have been removed, it's due to the addition of storage areas?
Yeah, it's due to plan relocations. There's another window that used to be an office that got changed into an animal control officer place, so it didn't make sense to have a window in there. So that, and on the right corner of the window, it used to be the finance officer's window, and they revised their floor plan after they reviewed it, the department themselves. So we wound up moving the high density shelving into that corner, so there was no place to put a window in there. That's also the side of the building that faces the Cumming Center as well.
Okay.
Okay. Joel, any comments, questions?
I have no comment, no.
Okay. Matt?
No comment.
Okay. I'm fine with it. The railing to me is a little unfortunate, but it's a necessary component. So, you know, what are you going to do? So,
yeah.
Okay.
And just for record, the building inspector has seen all this too. He's reviewed the drawings. I think he's just waiting for the revised DRB approval to issue the full permit. So he's aware of all these changes and he's seen them.
Okay.
On that note, as this is a minor modification, this is a simple approval. This is not a recommendation.
Okay, I was just going to ask that. All right. Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll move, Sandy.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the minor modifications to the site plan review for the Beverly Police Station.
And someone want a second?
Second.
That was Matt Ulrich. Okay, I'll just do the roll call vote. Ellen?
Yes.
Emily?
Yep.
Joel?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Okay, moving right along, we go to the Briscoe Village. Oh, okay. Before we get to this one, Matt, I think you have something.
I do.
Okay.
This is a letter I wrote to the mayor on May 5th. Dear sir, as a member of the Beverly Design Review Board, I wish to disclose the following business relationships to ensure they do not create a conflict of interest with the DRB's upcoming hearing for the Briscoe Middle School project. 1, my landscape design company, Ulrich Landscape Collaborative, which was formerly known as the UBLA Residential, occasionally does work for Harbor Light Community Partners as an independent contractor, primarily for landscape design of local affordable housing projects. Number 2, UBLA LLC was a member of the team that responded to the initial RFP for this project. And 3, I have also worked with the architect for this project, SV Design, primarily on Harbor Light Community Partners projects in the past. The Ulrich Landscape Collaborative, formerly known as UBLA Residential, or myself as an individual, will not be performing any work directly related to the Briscoe Middle School project and have not been on the project team after the initial RFP response. My company and myself stands to gain nothing financially or otherwise from the project, and I feel that I can perform my duties as a member of the DRB in a fair and objective way as it relates to the Briscoe Middle School project, but I wish to disclose these relationships for your review and opinion.
All right, great. Thanks, Matt. And I also filed a disclosure with the mayor's office today, just disclosing that I am currently doing work for Harbor Light Community Partners as a general contractor on the 200 Street project in downtown Beverly. I have no connection or am not going to be doing any work on the Briscoe School project. I have nothing to gain financially or otherwise from that project, and I feel that I can also be objective and fair in reviewing the Briscoe Village for the Living and Arts project.
And Sandy, if I may, the city has accepted these letters of disclosure and has no concerns.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right, so we can proceed with the presentation.
Great. It's nice to see everybody. Thank you, Madam Chair, and all the committee members for having us tonight. This is our second Zoom city meeting on the Briscoe project this week. So I guess everybody's getting used to this now. It's quite the thing. So it's nice to see you all. I hope everybody is safe and well, and it's nice to continue to be able to move forward. We have a great team here tonight. So Thad Samasco is setting up the slides for you. Darcy Jameson is here representing our partner from Beacon Communities, and Miranda Gooding is on the line, who is the attorney for permitting. I think that's everybody tonight on the team. So we're excited about this. It's coming along quite well. Wanted to just give you some feedback on it. We've been spending a lot of time in the last few months on design work and planning. We've spent quite a bit of time with city officials and staff, iteratively trying to think through different challenges and opportunities related to the building. And so this is the latest version and the best version so far that has had quite a lot of input. We did go to parking and traffic earlier this week. who we made some changes for and are making some adjustments for. And so we're feeling good about the submission. We submitted the historic tax credit application, the first among a few, late April. And we'll be submitting this for a full permit application to City Council in short order. Miranda can talk a little bit about this. It's a slightly different special permit process that goes before the City Council. In a nutshell, though, we'd like to just say again what we're up to and sort of what the goals are for the process. It's really quite an exciting project, and we had three main goals, which we're maintaining our commitment to. The first one was that we wanted to preserve the open space on the site, primarily the turf bowl in the front and the soccer fields in the rear, which continues to be the case. We wanted to preserve the historic beauty of this incredible asset for the community, including the theater, which we are still committed to doing and are excited about, especially as we continue to find all manner of historically significant markers and items around the building and outside the building, often with the assistance of city staff. And then the third one, of course, as everybody would know, nearest and dearest to my heart, is the affordable senior housing in the building, which is of course, in my opinion, the core driver of the experience, but is one among three wonderful outcomes. There are some associated benefits that we've been finding along the way, including cleaning up the lot line and some of the edges, really improving the outdoor landscaping and sidewalk areas, and finding ways to showcase the historic significance of the building, among others. So we're very excited about the project. My colleague Thad Samasco is going to walk you through a presentation here to give you an update on where we are on the design side. And again, we really appreciate everybody's time, especially in this format. So thanks for coming out, such as it is.
Great, thanks.
Take it from here, Thad.
Thad, you need to unmute yourself. You'll be all set.
Yeah. Thank you. I thought I had. Bear with me, please. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep.
Picture of the front of the school, I hope?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, our company is quite excited to be involved in this project. You can imagine it's a big and important project for the city. And you all know where it is, of course. The main project is, in fact, the school grounds and so forth, but there are the soccer field that's back here that the kids use is being retained by the city ultimately, and this turf bowl in front is also going to be, after we improve it, given back to the city as a nice almost city park amenity. Remarkable project to my mind in that 100 years ago they built the building, they invested heavily in it. And 100 years later, it looks remarkably the same. It's taken all that 100 years worth of children running through it, but it's lasted really well and has held up well. It's in very good condition. Needless to say, some of the codes have overrun it, and it needs renovation for this new use. But it's a pretty good sound structure. Some original photos from the original opening and down below photos of how it looks today. Again, worn, but in good shape and remarkably the same. Things that happened like in the gymnasium where there were these clerestory windows, what got plywooded in. Of course, we're going to be able to restore that back to what it was. So here's the basic site plan. There are 85 senior housing units contained in basically this pentagon shape here. The auditorium that's in the middle that most of you probably know have been in it will be preserved. And then out back, the old locker rooms become work-live apartments for artists, hopefully. And then in between, the old gym becomes a residential community space. So the residents have, a fitness room, community gathering space, some support offices, and that kind of thing. We are working with McRosty Historic Consultants. You may know Albert Rex and Kim Smith. who are doing this as it's a tax credit, historic tax credit project. So it's getting a full vetting by Mass Historic Commission and National Park Service, so that the details of the preservation of the building will be full. It includes the interior of the building, the exterior of the building, and even the turf bowl here. You might remember now that there's a driveway that kind of runs through it. That'll be taken out, and this will be restored back. The original concept of this sort of lowered grass bowl that runs through. We also plan the project will be LEED certified. We have a consultant named New Ecology who's working with us to be sure that happens. So that's some of the goals for the project. We have 234 parking spaces on the site. As we walk you through it, right now you might remember that this area in here is all open. It's like a big giant curb cut where the teachers used to park. So part of the RFP and part of our design is to put back a concrete sidewalk running the length here with a hedge and some reasonably good sized trees to provide a screen of the parking and to help the abutters who live across the street. We are continuing the line of trees down on either side here of Sawyer Road and running down Colon Street as well. That said, there are some really great large existing trees that are here and here and here, and even two really cool oak trees that are out back that we're going to preserve to really keep the historic feel of the project. Generally speaking, the residents are going to park near these entrances in this position here, in this position here. There's some charging stations being provided for electric cars. The main entrance for residents is in here. There's a support office, and the elevators will be, a bag of elevators are going to be added in this position here. There is this idea of a one-way through here with a drop-off Uber, Lyft, and minibus drop-off here. The main entrance to the building will still be the main entrance to the auditorium, and the accessible ramp that's there will be restored or repaired. That runs in here. We're going to add another ramp up to get into this residential entrance here as well. So that's generally how it works. You have typical double-loaded parking areas with pretty good amount of landscaping in between each. So the property line, roughly speaking, for the city from this project is going to run right along this line. So ultimately, after we restore the turf bowl, which includes this cool overlook walkway down 5% grade or less down into the turf bowl area, that'll all be restored and brought back. We did find some cool 1930s vintage monument to George Washington that we're going to put somewhere on the site in a prominent spot. But these paths, you'll notice on the plan that there are bike racks throughout. The paths are lit, and there's a fair bit of landscaping. I think 150 canopy trees are included in this plan. So it's fairly heavily planted. And then of course there are the smaller plants in and around some of these highlight areas. Out back here is a maintenance shed for lawnmowers and yard equipment. A little bit of salt for winter time. Basically a work shed with an enclosed dumpster enclosure for things related to work projects, or some resident moves out and leaves some furniture behind. The actual trash is being brought into the building through two chutes, one recycling, one regular, into totes here that get brought out and then picked up through this loading dock area in here. And this, interesting enough, this was where the original loading dock was in the building. So we're actually kind of making use of that same thinking that a truck can get in pretty easily and get out from this position here. To get into these work-live studios, we had to drop the grade a little bit here because actually we're raising the floor in them because they're down about 8 feet, I think, below the grade. We're raising that grade up so that they're pretty well within a couple feet. So you'd come down a ramp or some stairs into this court and then into your live-work apartment. There are 3 apartments per locker room wing, if you will. The residential community space also has a way out of it into some resident terraces, a resident lawn, some Victory Garden space, a dog walking area out here as well, all accessible, and a way out onto the field so we can take a look at the little kids running around playing soccer out there. So that's the general site layout. We are also should mention that this This piece here will be also given to the city. This is an access drive that gets to, there'll be a turnaround at the end. So folks using the field will still have access to it, as the city will for mowing and so forth. And there's also 10 designated shared parking spaces for resident use when they're out at when the field is being used, that are designated in this spot right here as well. So I think that's the gist of the plan. Let me just keep going then. So the first floor of the buildings, I mentioned the building's being completely restored. Essentially, classrooms become apartments. Chalk rails and the trim and the transoms and all those interesting parts, and the big windows that make a classroom will be in the apartments. The circulation shown here in yellow, which is very wide with the lockers, and all that's being kept. So it's quite a generous feeling to the circulation space. The notion of the 4 stairways on the 4 points here, all that's being kept and preserved. Someone using the auditorium comes in the front door, as I mentioned. There's the lobby space restored as it was, and into the theater itself. There's some back house for theater here with back entrance in to service the operator of the theater as well. And then this is that where I mentioned the old gym becomes community space, community rooms, and so forth. Access this way through and in. Elevator bank I mentioned is in this location here with that new resident entrance in on this side. So that's the basic format. There are no volumetric changes to the existing building. The only volume we're really adding is that small salt or maintenance shed way out back. There are very few changes to the exterior as well, which I'll talk about in a second. But basically, that's the plan. What you see there now is pretty much what you will see when we're done, except it'll be a new and vibrant use. Second floor, that same pattern. If you've ever been in the building, it's easy to get lost because you kind of run around in these circles. That's all staying, and each classroom essentially again is becoming a unit, a mix of 1-bedrooms and studios, mostly 1-bedroom spaces. This is that trash room I mentioned before that we have in the building. Third floor are the same. Down at the lowest dungeon level, there's a place for residents to have a workshop, a little bit of a repair shop. There's a place to put a bunch of bikes, a nice maintenance office here. This is where that trash comes in and over and gets lifted out. So that whole maintenance facility is planned for within the building. A pretty good, straightforward plan for that, making use of this lower, darker area. There's a lot of space here under the stage that we'll have available for storage as we develop the plan further. So the exterior of the building, as I mentioned, is really unchanged. We're going to be putting in brand new windows that will meet the National Park Service standards for historic restoration. Same with the doors, all new doors in here. We'll be cleaning and repairing as needed the building per those standards. As you know, that's a pretty tight spec that they follow in order to achieve your tax credits. This is the back section. If you look at it from Sawyer Road, some changes here are where those artist live work studios are. We actually have to put the 3 doors in to get to them. One on each, 3 doors on each side to get into the units. We are using the existing window opening dimension in order to put the door in and setting those down. The grade again is down around it here on the other side of that wall. There were no railings put on the stair landing, so we're adding some new metal, some very simple metal pipe railing to the stair landings at each of the entrances where they were missing.
Hey, Thad.
Yes.
The artist live work studios, those are just 1 level?
Yeah, Sandy, they are. The issue, the ground, as you can see, this is where the floor level is. It's way down here. So in order to have windows that you could actually look out of and use, if they were just artist work studios, maybe the highlight would be fine, but we brought the floor up. Part of it is also is handicap accessibility, that we can ramp into a new floor level, which is down around in here. And particularly for the seniors who are leaving the building on the back side, which is here, they're going to be able to get right onto grade, right onto that terrace, directly through this corridor and onto that terrace. So, which is here. Sorry,
Okay.
which is here rather.
Okay.
So it's kind of neat that the community space has a direct on-grade, flat access to these terraces where there's some barbecues and picnic tables and that kind of thing. A nice little lawn space. So
Okay.
raising the floor level of the gym, which is going to probably go up to like this level, around, well, maybe about that level, is the plan.
Okay.
The windows will be going back in. Those clerestory windows that you see here, the plywood will come off, and windows that would be historically correct are being put in. There is a cooling tower that's in the corner here that we're screening with a tall cedar fence. It's in a spot where the units don't necessarily are not really bothered by it, if you will, and are not really. It's as far out of sight as we could possibly get the unit. And then coming around the other side of the building, I'm sorry, this is Colon again. Sorry, went the wrong way. From Sawyer Road, you can see this elevation. That's that entrance on the corner, and then the building kind of bends back on an angle back, and then it's hard to see this from the road, but you can. This is kind of what that elevation looks like. Same deal. 3 new doors, the higher windows put in. That's where I mentioned that auditorium access entrance would be. So this is the typical kind of window. This Universal company is one of the companies that makes it a historically accurate window. They're aluminum. These windows, as you know, are huge, something like 6 feet by 10 feet or 9 feet. They would be, of course, a low E glass, a thermally insulated window. Same with the door. The doors have taken a beating, as you can imagine, but we are keeping this whole glass, this transom piece here, and just replacing the doors with a door like that looks like that. Basically, it matches the profile, we believe, of what was there. This is some pictures of what's there now. It's, again, the building is in pretty good shape. It's got some cool things that we don't normally see done anymore. Some of these castings and so forth. Some monuments to various folks who were important to the city over the years. Here you can see the lack of stair rail. We're going to be putting the rails in. The windows were done, I want to say 25 years ago. I was on a building committee that did some preservation of this building, and they were just replacement windows, and they probably have reached their useful life as well. So those are all getting replaced.
Thad?
Yes, sir.
Question on the windows. I haven't been in the building in a very long time. I know that at the McKay School, the original windows were kept, or at least the size of them were kept, but they are very high up off the floor. Is that the case in this building?
Yeah, I want to say that they're not, they're maybe 36 inches off the floor. This Joel speaking?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Joel. They're like 3 feet. They're a little bit, they're kind of normal. I think the McKay School, the ones you're probably referring to, were in the basement, where we put units in the basement where they had quite a high sill there. These are more normal. If anything, the thing that's abnormal about them is how huge they are, right? You know, a normal window would stop maybe about in here, and these things go all the way up to the ceiling.
And that's my second question: is a woman, an 80-year-old woman, going to be comfortably able to open and close those windows?
That's an excellent question, and that's part of what we'll be looking at. That's an excellent question, because they are large. Of course, the units have air conditioning and heat, and now fresh air being introduced to them by code. But it would be nice to be able to open a window. Not exactly sure how well balanced, counterbalanced this Universal series is. I imagine it's something that's been dealt with before, and it's a fair question that we can look into.
Does it make sense to maybe have a window that where the bottom three light panes goes up, so it's not a whole window that has to be raised?
That's a good question. I think we've been directed pretty heavily by the historic consultant, who's very well known and experienced, that we got to kind of replicate these pretty exactly. But I can ask the question, can you make an offset sash and say, pull this down? So that's a little less to open. That's a fair
Right.
point. You don't need all of that air. I have a feeling their answer is going to be no, if I was to be honest with you, but I think it's worth asking. The note here says ultralift balances for ease of operation. I have not personally worked with this company to know what ease of operation means, if I was being truthful. But I assume this is something that folks deal with, that because these windows are being used quite frequently in restored schools and even in industrial buildings that had large openings. But that's a fair question we should follow up on.
Okay.
This is our cute little maintenance shed. It's basically just a place where you can have some, mowers and so forth, stores where they might have gasoline in them that you really don't want in the building. This dumpster enclosure I mentioned, it's just basically a cedar fenced enclosure. And they have salt that's covered for, spreading in the winter when there's, icy conditions. Then sort of a back work yard back in here. So all on the far end of the property, all screened with fencing and, made to look attractive but simple. A little bit closer view on the landscape plan. There is a series of walkways that run around the property that will allow for folks to preambulate, if you will. There's accessible paths to the dog walk, for example, some kind of sitting walls and so forth in this nice kind of lawn area that runs through the Victory Gardens, as I mentioned. And you can see a little bit more clearly that there's kind of a wall right here and a ramp down and some steps down into a bit of a well here that gets you into these live work studios. This is our loading area back in here. There are plans show in multiple places that's the lighting for the parking lots. It's all dark sky compliant lighting shown, and throughout it's lighting the paths as well as the parking areas. We do have a transformer which we've located here and screened. So we are doing our best to take into account everything we can possibly imagine. This is that cooling tower I mentioned we kind of put in this spot, which we thought was by far the best place for it, the most hidden spot for it. This is the fun part, I think, for me. This turf bowl, it's called a turf bowl on the plan. It's kind of a bowl. And as I mentioned, that you have that driveway that ran through here was not on the original plan, is going to be taken up. So you really will have this nice turf area here with these big overhanging trees and a walkway around and a nice view through to the front of the building. There's a bus shelter we're providing as well for I think it's the 451 bus that comes through on its way to North Beverly and coming from Salem Station. There are some project entry signs located in these two positions and one on the far end when you come in by that loading area entry. There are bike racks shown on the plan here, as well as on the other side of the plan. There's some opportunities for some art. We've kind of shown where you might, if you were to place public art, where it might want to go. So there also are paving texture differences from the asphalt that you drive on to some concrete stamped pavers in here. Some good solid concrete walkway work in here as well. So you've seen the landscape plans have been filed that list the various materials and so forth. I tried to highlight the main parts of them. Just to look at the bus shelter and the various kinds of furnishings that are key to the plan, the lighting, the Victory Garden idea, some of the walls, that are sort of sitting type walls, the screens for the dumpsters and so forth are all shown on this plan. This fence is the dog area fence to contain the dogs. And there's a little bit of vinyl fence between the soccer field and our property as well, just to define where the kids are versus we are, but also allow folks to kind of see through and enjoy the little kids playing. And there's a full landscape plant palette that's on the package you'll see with lots of maple trees along the perimeter of the property, some sour gum in there, pin oak here and there thrown in, and the yew hedge that would run along the Sawyer Road line, as I mentioned, and a fair bit of perennial type, generally drought tolerant kind of fairly local native species. I should mention that Monique Hall from BSG Group is the landscape architect who put this plan together, and I'm pitching in for her tonight to present it. And with that, we can take some questions, or if the team, our team has anything that I might have missed to want to throw in, please let me know.
Thanks, Deb. Nice job.
Dan, I have a question on the turf bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's my imagination or whether I actually heard it or not, but at one time, was there a discussion about putting in a fountain?
That's the first I've heard of it, to be honest.
Okay. Well, the thought just came that maybe this would be a good time to think about a memorial fountain or a memorial structure to the COVID victims of Beverly. Where it is a city property.
Yeah, that's the first that has come up, certainly, Joel. I'm not sure. Yeah, we could ask. I'm not sure what the planning department and the mayor and others would feel about it, but it's not something that's come up before at this point. Perhaps because we're in the middle of it, maybe, but I can see why that might be a thought. Miranda, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
No, I was just sort of standing by to explain that wasn't part of the RFP, but that it could, certainly be something that the city can explore going forward.
Right. Yeah, I think it's probably important to clarify that the city will own the turf bowl and they'll own the soccer field.
And that's why I brought it up, because it's city owned.
Yep.
I forgot to add, that not related to your question, Joel, is Mike Collins in the city asked us to look at making this intersection here a 90-degree intersection, which involved giving up some property that was right on this corner. You might know that's like that hairpin turn. So we at least proved that you can do this. You can modify this intersection so that if you're heading down Sawyer to take the right, there's also would be a left turn lane, because that's part of why some of the backups are happening apparently. And then we proved that a truck can kind of come through here. So this is a request for by the city to just at least take a peek at that and see what land would be given up in order to do that. It seems like a reasonable idea.
Yeah, if I can chime in too, having been present with the development of the RFP, Joel, I don't think a fountain was discussed, but there was discussion of opportunities for public art, and something of that nature. It could be brought up with the city, but I think it would be something to approach the city about in connection with this.
Okay. Are you done presenting?
We're done. Yeah. If we have questions about the design, or if the committee had any questions about process, Sandy, then Miranda's here as well. If there's something people wanted to know, what happens from here.
Let me just go through the board members. Ellen, do you have any comments or questions?
I have a question on the shed, Thad. What is the materials used to create the shed?
I forgot, Alan. No, it's hardy. Okay. It's the cementitious siding and trim, and then this is just a texture 111 siding on this salt piece.
Okay.
Trying to make this seem like this is the building, or this is the building that you see, and then there's this small little shed. What happens is they open up these doors, they dump a pile of salt. They kind of load it in here and bring it out. So there's some concrete walls up to a certain height so that they can contain the salt and take a little bit of a beating by a bobcat kind of thing.
Yep.
And then the folks who do the maintenance will be storing their mowers and their snow blowers and so forth in this building here. So it's a wood frame building. It's kind of working kind of near the house on the other side. We thought of what maybe a wood frame look with a metal roof would be, grayish metal, not a bright colored metal roof would be sort of the right look for the building.
No, I think that would be appropriate, Dad. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, overall, I think it's great. The building is kind of what the building is, and you're restoring it. I think that's awesome. Really just a few minor comments on the landscape plan, and they're more just related to materials, and I know that's probably all still being fleshed out. The layout and plantings were great. I think, I questioned, I guess, the use of stamped concrete in the drop-off, and just wondered if, maybe you could go to a concrete paver product instead. I've got limited experience with stamped concrete, but when I have seen it used, especially near vehicular traffic, it gets pretty hammered pretty quick. And especially if you're doing a dye in it, I see it get pitted real quick and discolored. So again, limited experience with it, but might be nicer to see a paver there as opposed to stamped concrete. I think the same is true that walkway that rings the turf bowl, the concrete walk. I think that's great. I wonder if you're doing a concrete walk, if you don't want to look at a different material other than concrete for those little seat walls that you have.
Sure. Yeah.
In an ideal world, that could be a granite or something like that was historically appropriate to the building. Would be pretty great. And again, another minor thing, and probably more of a personal preference, the benches that you show in the pallet board are a little modern. They looked a little McDonald's-y to me. So, I don't know if there's a way to just get maybe something that's a little bit more historically appropriate and, try and not have like a concrete walk within these concrete walls. If there's a way to integrate, granite or stonework in some way, I think it would be great. Similar kind of comment with the lighting, just looking at the lighting fixtures. Can we do something like what we're doing down on Cabot Street right now? We're trying to do more like period appropriate light poles versus the ones that you're showing, which again, just look really modern. That might be just a nice touch. So again, they're kind of minor things, more opinions than anything else. I think the last comment I had, I was just curious what you're doing with the interior courtyards. They're just shown rendered as kind of concrete. If it was going to stay that way, or what? What you thought?
No, we probably will do some work in here. The issue is they have all the units that are looking down on them, so we can't do any sort of louder activity. They're concrete now. Their thought was would cut some squares in the concrete and plant a few sort of vertical trees. We think it might tolerate it, but they're more visual access, Matt, than functional because of where they're located. I thought even
if you just did a ground cover of some type, something real shade tolerant, just to green that space up. And maybe encourage some kind of, habitat value for birds or just something other than concrete in those light courtyards. And let me see. Oh, and then the last comment I had in the front drop-off, I think that's such a prominent area, and you really see that wall in the drop-off from all the way across the park. I think that's shown right now as either a concrete wall or one of those wall block systems.
Yeah.
It might be a nice spot to maybe put a little bit more in the budget and do a stone wall or something that's a little bit more historically appropriate. And that's it. Other than that, I think it's great. I mean, the layout's awesome. I think the planting plan's really nice and all the stuff's coming together really nicely. These are just couple minor minor comments, really.
Well, I think a couple, just at a high level, Matt, we need to be sure we don't get too historic looking with some of the newer elements, at least according to our consultant. That said, those benches don't need to be quite that modern, nor do the light fixtures, but a period light that wasn't really used then, they're telling us not to use. I should have mentioned, but however, that there are two of those, the cast iron bases with the globe lights will be restored and relamped here. But we can turn down the modern to some degree. Many of the things you mentioned, frankly, were considered at this point. We just felt like we didn't want to promise them and have to come back because, I think given the fact that this is 100% affordable, it's a complete restoration, work's being done, and then given back to the city, the economics are daunting. At least that's my understanding. So some of these, we agree. I totally agree. Granite here would be great. A really nice granite wall here, or brick, or some kind of wall here would be great. Just feel like we do have a contractor on board who's done some pretty tight pricing, and we're trying to navigate this thing into a position of being viable. I know you don't want to hear that, but I that's part of what. But all that said, I think the materials we've chosen are certainly durable and attractive and fitting to the project.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. I mean, I think if you could maybe relook at the front entry, again, stamped concrete, I just find to be a material that looks cheap. There's a couple spots where maybe you could, and I don't think it's a huge stretch I don't think that's a huge cost driver to replace those two materials in those areas with something different. But
Matt, you're right.
I understand what you're saying.
No, I'm sorry, Matt. You're right. I think the delta in that's pretty small. And we got to pick our spots. That would be one spot where it would make sense to invest a little more. It just, it is tight. But I hear you on that particular spot, especially this right side of the where you're coming across. That would be nice if that was done with a better paver than the stamp. I can't argue with you there.
Yeah,
we'll take a look at that.
We'll take a look. It's good feedback.
Okay.
Great.
You good, Matt? Emily, did you have any other comments, Emily?
Yes, I do agree with Matt with his comments. I think the priorities are the front entrance area, some pavers other than stamped concrete, and that front wall in particular would be very nice to look at something other than concrete. And the light fixtures, I think, there's things you want to be careful about because you don't want to get too close to the gooseneck bulbs, and that's just and I know they were smaller, they're less conspicuous, but that's the appearance that I felt it aligned with more rather than the more classic timeless type of lighting. The other question I had is on the Colon Street border, would it be possible to have the sidewalk inside the street trees and have the street trees and landscaping be a buffer to the sidewalk and continue what is in that turf bowl, having the street trees be that first line of defense against the street?
That's an interesting question we can look at, Emily. I think it may be that the sidewalk then doesn't end up on the city's property because of the narrowness of the right of way there. But I think that's why it got flipped. so that you have the concrete and then the trees as opposed to the trees and then the concrete. We can certainly look at that and see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation, especially because of the senior living space. You're going to have people that might feel more comfortable with that additional buffering and level of security from the traffic. They might be more likely to use those sidewalks if the trees were there,
Sure.
if the trees were between them and the street.
Yeah, sorry. No, I mean, we can look at that. I have a feeling that was what it was, Emily, but we can look into that. The other option, maybe there's a way to work an easement out there where even though it's a city sidewalk, it's on, there's an easement granted on our land kind of thing, or something, a mechanism kind of like that.
Yeah, we'd probably have to talk to Stephanie, I think, Emily, and probably to Mike Collins. But I think it's reasonable to raise your point. I'm sure they both will be empathetic to that. We would need probably to move some easement lines, but I think if they were agreeable.
Yeah, I was about to say, just having an initial discussion with Mike Collins might be a good way to go with that, to see if that's something that is feasible for the city and you might want to approach with the solicitor's office and with the rest of the city. But other than that, I mean, the building is wonderful. I think the project just in and of itself with the senior housing is wonderful. The artist live workspace, the protection of the theater. So I think Matt really covered the landscape items, but in general, it really is a fantastic project and great work.
Great. Okay, I think I covered. Joel, did you have anything more to say before I make a comment? Joel?
No, I have nothing further.
Okay. I'm still back to the artist live work studio stuff. Yeah. How big are they square footage wise? When you bring that floor up and I just feel like maybe are you losing an opportunity there with that depth? Like, could they be like a loft type thing? Like what if you had an artist who, for instance, does ceramics or wants a kiln, or is it amenable to that? And could the lower part be the studio?
There's not. I would agree with you, Sandy, if we were talking about the center gym where you have all that height, but we're talking about the locker rooms.
Okay, that's my confusion then. Sorry.
I probably didn't present it well, to be honest. So, and we do have to have accessibility. Part of it is we want the artists live work as a separate group from the seniors in the building. So we wanted separate access from them, independent of the building. To do that, we had to have accessibility for 6 doors. So we brought the grade up, brought the ramp down. But yeah, ultimately this is a much lower ceiling height than, this would be, these windows would be great. They're going to be in the community spaces, but they're not in the artists live work.
Yeah. So what is the square footage of a unit approximately?
I thought they were about 600.
So it's kind of like a artist live work in that, like, your bed's in the corner and your artist in the corner.
Yeah. That's about. I think that's fair.
Okay.
So this office here, this fitness room is 685 feet, and that's probably to there. So this might be 700-800. Okay. This one's bigger, maybe 11 kind of thing, and this might be about the same as that. 600-700.
So it's not for the guy who's welding sculptures.
No, that's not its intent. You got it.
Okay.
Tell that welder, Sandy, we got to put him somewhere else.
Okay, got it.
We are gonna the cool part of the project. One of it is that old shop space. If I can find this stuff. The shop space in that lower level is still going to be used as a shop, right?
Okay.
Like this wing, which was like the old wood shop with this ramp down, that's all staying.
Okay.
And this little shop here is actually going to become used as a shop by the actual this building staff.
Okay.
So if you wanted to weld, don't tell Andrew or
yeah.
this is where you do it.
So it's like a communal shop, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. But assemble your IKEA furniture, repair your bike, that make a birdhouse, that kind of thing.
Right.
Okay. All right. I get it now. I think it's a great project. It looks great. I can't wait to see it develop.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments from anyone?
No, see, I just wanted to add too, it's a beautiful project. You should be very proud.
Thanks.
Okay.
You and Andrew.
All right.
Sandy?
Go ahead, Miranda.
Hi. I just wanted to make a couple of quick comments and describe sort of where we are in this process, because it's a little bit unusual and distinct from the usual site plan review process. This is an application for a special permit from the City Council to authorize the residential reuse of this building. And as such, site plan review by the planning board is sort of incorporated into that process at the discretion of and then other boards are invited to comment at the discretion of the City Council and/or planning board. We've sort of submitted this as preliminary review to sort of get our process moving. We are under a lot of constraints based on the fact that this is an historic tax credit project, so the financing has a very long lead time. And we are working hard to get in front of the City Council and the Planning Board and hopefully get recommendations by the end of June. So we wanted to get to you guys early in the process to flag any significant issues. I think this has been very helpful. And, I think I'm not sure that we heard anything tonight that couldn't be accepted as a recommendation to review further. I think as Dad said, quite well, the competing objectives here of the historic renovation, the affordable housing, the offsite improvements, the budget is a constant concern of the client.
Yeah.
And I think that raises a really good point, which is we've all had situations where we've gotten a project approved and had to come back and say the budget didn't allow for X, Y, and Z. We don't want to promise that right now, but I think we could certainly live with a recommendation as we go through the rest of the process to talk it through with City Council or to come back, and review final materials for the turf bowl.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, it seems like the two main points was the stamped concrete and that wall. So, if you come back and I don't know, maybe there's a chance there can be a revision there that's favorable. That's the only thing I heard that was really an issue. Oh, and the idea of the sidewalk, looking into that. The trees on the side of the sidewalk.
I would say we're happy to look at that. We may get some pushback, but we are absolutely happy to raise it through the lens of getting those trees out on the curb.
Okay. All right. So from here, we have you come back, hopefully one more time, perhaps. Is that what we're sort of foreseeing, Emily?
So there are two ways this can go. If we feel that they should come back with some revisions, or that we need them to come back after looking at opportunities to revise those historic landscape and streetscape elements, and after looking at the sidewalk, then we can motion to continue the project and have to the June meeting, or we can make a motion. We can motion to recommend City Council and or Planning Board approval with the conditions that these items are looked at.
Let me ask the other board members. Matt, what are you comfortable with?
I'd definitely be inclined to recommend approval. I think these things are really minor. So
Okay. Joel?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that if they can at least pursue them and see where they go, and then let us know where they end up.
Okay. Ellen?
I agree, Sandy. I think if they would have concrete answers, that would work.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable because I know what the planning board would expect. So.
Okay.
That was not a pun, Ellen, right?
Yeah, you mean granted answers, don't you?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that as well. So, so I guess maybe we are making a motion to recommend to City Council. Emily, what are we?
Yep. So yeah, this is a motion to recommend City Council approve.
With a few, and we're going to throw some conditions on there. Okay,
Yeah.
I think I can do this. So I'll make a motion that we recommend to City Council that they approve the site plans as presented, with the condition that the team look at an alternative to the stamped concrete, an improvement perhaps to the curved wall at the entry, and the sidewalk issue, if the trees could be put to the outside of the sidewalk or not. Did I miss anything?
Lighting. Yep.
Yeah, and then the lighting, alternatives for lighting and benches that are not so modern would be great. Okay. Someone want a second?
I'll second.
That was Ellen.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just pull the board here. Do we do this for a recommendation, Emily?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, Ellen?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Matt?
yes.
And I'm in favor, so that motion passes.
Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
all.
So,
Thank you.
The sort of like the answers or options for the conditions, will you guys send something to Emily that she can distribute or,
Yeah.
you know, forward to us?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Welcome, guys. Good to see you.
Be safe, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good night.
All right. Okay. Next up is the YMCA. Cabot
Hi.
Street.
Hi, this is Ben. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Ben. Yep.
Okay, great.
Hey, Ben, Tom Alexander here.
Hey, Tom. Yeah, nice to see your face.
Well, such as it is.
Yes.
Yeah. So just by way of introduction, as you know, the Y received a site plan review approval and special permit in September of 2017. And what with the permit was for is to increase what had been traditionally 45 SRO units to add an additional 24 units for a total of 69 units. And, when we went to design and approval from DHCD, which is the Department of Housing and Community Development, it came out that we needed to have stoves in each of these units, which is we had to be 2 by 2. The result of the redesign of that is we lost 2 units. So we still have the same configuration of using the second, third, and fourth floor in a total rehab, but rather than having a total of 69 units, we're now having 67 units. So we submitted to you, designed by Ben, that just shows in red the partitions that have been approved in 2017, and in blue the redesigned partitions with the fewer number of units, each unit slightly larger, and in blue. In addition, because of those unit reconfigurations, we needed to slightly change the exterior windows, and I think Ben will take you through that in just a couple of minutes. We are looking to start construction on this project. We have received all of our funding. We're looking to start in June, and the building permit is pending before the city. So we would appreciate your consideration. And Ben, you want to take us through the changes in the windows?
Sure. Can everyone see these elevations here that I'm presenting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So as Tom mentioned, there was a reduction in the total number of units by 2, and the units are more comfortable now, but it required some shifting of some interior walls. So this top 2 elevations here, of the Cabot Street elevation, the only change was the location of these center windows. So really, this previous design, which showed this strip of 5 windows and these 2 narrow windows in the middle, those 2 narrow windows were just needed to be removed. There was a lounge in this location, and so this entire exterior wall was open. Once we put a unit here, there were more interior walls that were intersecting the exterior wall, and it was necessary to remove these 2 windows. But we still kept the relationship and the center line of the relationship with the windows below here on this elevation. This was the only change required. All the other windows are unchanged on this elevation. I just keep in mind that these changes to the windows only go for the new portions of the building. We're not moving or changing any of the existing windows. There are new windows are going in to the same opening.
Right.
On the Essex Street elevation, the backside, you can see in the previous design, we had these double windows that were ganged together, and these are now split apart. So the relationship is similar but different, and for the same reason. Now we have unit walls that are dying in to the exterior wall in these locations that were not there previously. But we felt we were able to keep the same general look and feel that was presented in the original elevation. Additionally, once the contractor started thinking about accessing the building during construction and getting equipment into this building that's required for demolition, the centralized window section now is being removed. So this area where these large windows and this existing wood corning, this glass block down here, is being removed, and they're using this hole in the building now that will be left to access the building, and then it will be put back in kind. So what we've specified is that the existing wood casing, molding, and trim that is there now, represented here, is removed, restored, and put back. So the original wood casing and molding would be put back, and we would just be replacing the large windows with new windows of the same size. So again, it'll be new windows going in existing openings. But we also now had an opportunity to get rid of this glass block, the existing glass block that clearly was not part of the design in 19 in early 1900s. So we're using this as opportunity to remove this glass block and put in new windows that mimic the same design as above. So these wood casings here that divide the large window will now extend in the new design. Will now extend down to the existing curb that's there, and will infill with new windows. Additionally, there's granite, there's glass block on either side of this window down at the street level, at the sidewalk level. That is also being removed and replaced with new windows. So we feel that we've been able to improve what's happening on this elevation.
Okay.
Now we'll move on to the south elevation. At the fourth floor, so this is the elevation where the bike shop is. The bike shop is in this portion of the building, and that creates a fire rating issue for this wall. The existing wall, it doesn't affect the existing wall of the existing openings, but the new wall that we put there is not permitted to have any openings that aren't protected. This window in the corner was inside of a bathroom. So this window was just removed, and this next window is being protected. We didn't want to remove all the windows on this side, but this window is being protected. These other two windows here don't require any protection because they're not. They have a different relationship to that existing building. So this was the only window that was removed. The other three stayed in the same location. Again, these windows on levels 1, 2, and 3, the existing windows are all existing to remain. The representation of their location is different in the original elevation, but this is a schematic design elevation. And once we did a deeper dive into the building and more site verifications, there were windows that were just simply left off of these original elevations that are now included. But so we're not adding windows down here. It's just the representation of the existing condition that is changed. So these are all existing to remain, the openings. Likewise, on the north elevation, everything below the level 4 is existing to remain, and the fourth floor windows were generally unchanged on this. There weren't specific sizes given, I believe, initially. So the windows on this elevation are they're the same all the way around. They're the same width and height on every side of the building at this level. And so that's the intent here, is that all the windows have the same look all the way around the fourth floor. There is a minor change. There's an existing door at the third floor right here. We're removing that door and replacing it with a window. So the opening location is the same. The fenestration is the same. It's just now a window instead of a door. And that should cover all of the changes. So if anyone has any questions about anything else that they saw, or comments on things that have been stated, the field is open.
I'll make I think the first, sorry, I'm trying to control your computer. The first elevations, yeah, I think actually it's all, in my opinion, it all looks better.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's an improvement. I like that the cluster window is replaced with the 3 that align. I think it looks great. The other elevations, the side one there, you're saying that all those windows below 4th floor down exist in that south elevation?
Yes, on the south elevation, that's wow. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a cluster of windows. Yeah, and yeah.
That's original, you think, or did they?
Well, I'm not sure if it's original. We have drawings from the renovation that was done in the 90s, And they did the same thing then. They just replaced existing windows that were there. So the only drawings that we have don't show any windows being added. Now, this was built in 1901. If some of these windows were put in and 30 years later, that could be the case, but we don't have that documentation.
Yeah, it's just surprising to me because it's so symmetrical on the Cabot Street side, and then you come around and it's kind of like, whoa, what?
I was thinking the same thing, Sandy.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that they were originally put in this way, but they've been this way for 40 years. Yeah, at least 40, 50 years, if not longer.
Okay. And then on the next elevation, is there any way to align the new windows on the top floor, align them at all with the ones below a little better? Or is it an interior layout?
Well, it is an interior layout issue. Now, we might have some room, all these windows are in living rooms, and we might have some room to adjust them one way or the other. There is a setback here, and because of its relationship to the church, they weren't highly visible. So we were doing what worked best for the interior.
So it's stepped back. The top floor is stepped back on that side.
It is. It's stepped back. It is that. Well, so we have this that protrudes out about 10 or 12 feet beyond this, and then this sets back about another foot.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, those are my only comments. I'll go through the list here. Ellen, do you have any comments?
I don't, Sandy. I mean, other than it's a very clean presentation, and I like the look.
Okay. Matt?
I'm all good with it.
Okay. Joel?
I'm all set with it. Thank you.
Okay. Emily?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think on the north facade, where the windows don't align, that's probably the place of least concern. I don't know if there would be anyone who would ever see them unless there are some windows that are uniquely placed in the church.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Sounds like everyone's good with it. So someone want to make a motion?
Okay. Excuse me, Emily?
Yeah.
Are we moving to approve as a minor modification?
That is correct. This is a minor modification, and it is a motion to approve.
Yeah. Then I move to approve the site plan review for a minor modification at the Cabot Street YMCA at 245 Cabot Street.
I'll second. All right, I'll go through the list backwards. Matt?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
And I approve as well. So motion passes.
Okay.
You're terrific. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Likewise.
You're welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, so we're done with the applicants. We have minutes.
That is the last thing.
All right. Does anyone have any corrections, comments, revisions to the minutes? Let's do March 5th minutes first.
When I looked at them, Sandy, the March minutes were fine.
Okay. All right. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as the March 5th minutes as written.
I'll second.
All right. Go through the list. I have to do it by name. Matt?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
And I approve as well. All right. Motion passes. The April 2nd minutes. Does anyone have any corrections, comments?
There was one Scrivener's, Sandy, on page 2, paragraph 3, spelling of inquiries. It's just inquires is the word.
Okay, Emily, did you get that?
I did.
Okay. I'll make another motion then to approve the April 2nd minutes as written with the correction from Ellen. Matt,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Wait, did someone second that?
oh, I'm sorry. Who seconded?
Second.
We'll take Matt. We'll take Matt as that second.
That time, Joel.
Okay.
And Emily,
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
all right, and I approve as well. Okay, motion passes. I think that's it.
Yep.
Great.
That's all we have for today.
All right, I'll make a
Good
motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Second,
Second.
Ellen,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and I agree as well. Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
all.
Good night, Sandy. Good
Yeah.
to see you all.
Good
Stay
to see you.
well.
Good to hear you, Ellen.
Thank you, Sandy.
All right. Okay. Talk to you guys later.